there YouTube, Pixar Prime 10 here, and welcome back to another episode of Mega Man 3. Now, it's not very hard to tell what I'm reviewing today because, well, it's right in front of you, but first, let's talk a little bit, just like I love to do. If you guys remember in Mega Man 2, one of the items I was most excited to bring you a video review of was the Mega Buster Replica, made by ThinkGeek. It was an item that when it was announced and shown off, I wanted it so badly, and one of my great friends, one of my best friends actually, that you guys have heard his name at least 1,000 times, that classy Combine who, shameless plug, has done all the fantastic animations you've seen in Mega Man 3 as well as Mega Man 2. He gave that to me as a Christmas gift, and for me that was one of the spotlight episodes of Mega Man 2 because it's an awesome item. So when ThinkGeek showed off that they would be making a second version of it, but this time of Proto Man's weapon, the Proto Buster, I was psyched, but it was $80 and I knew I didn't have that kind of money. So when my great friend Anthony told me that he wanted to get this for me for my birthday, I was absolutely psyched, but the problem was my birthday is in the first week of June, and Mega Man is in May. So when I told him that, he absolutely, no problem, was like, okay, so I'll just get it for you at the beginning of May, and you can shoot it for Mega Man 3. And the fact that he was willing to drop that kind of money on someone like me and give it to me early is incredibly awesome. So, Anthony, I know you wanted to hear your shout out in this, so here it is. I cannot thank you enough for this, man. You rock. But all that aside, let's get to the review itself. If you guys remember, I absolutely love the Mega Buster Replica. It is one of the coolest items I have ever owned, and especially probably the coolest Mega Man item I have ever owned. And now the fact that I, well, have two of them is incredibly awesome. Now, I didn't have the box for the original Mega Buster because Combine got it for himself, but then didn't really want it, so he actually just gave it over to me, but he had thrown out the box. But this time, I actually have the box, and this time it's all mine, so I actually have the box to show off to you guys. And my board may look a little bit different. Well, that's because it is. This box and item is so huge, it wouldn't fit on my tiny little review board that I use, so I'm actually using a white sheet. For a little bit of a size reference, there's my iPhone 6. But on the front here, you can see it's just a general box. This is basically what you would have gotten for the Mega Man box. You have a picture of Proto Man or Blues right there on the bottom right. You have the actual product featured on the big face of the package right there. I can't tell if that's an actual photo. It looks like a mock-up, like, you know, animation of it or something. I don't know. You got the ThinkGeek logo down there. It says with lights and sounds, of course, Mega Man, Proto Man, Buster Replica, which is awesome. And you can't really see it because my light is in the way, so I'll move it. Ages 8 and up, and it has the Capcom logo right there. On the back of the box, you have a diagram of the actual product itself. So you got little lines and things showing you where everything is and how it actually functions, which I actually really do kind of like this because, for example, that yellow light bar in there, I would have never guessed that it's as thick as it is. I would have thought it was a thin piece of plastic. Nothing really interesting about that, but I just think it's cool. You have the interior trigger and handle, which is where you hold it and pull the trigger for the sounds and lights. You have the LED power meter, which lights up on top. You can use your right or left hand, doesn't really matter, which is cool. The authentic Proto Man armor, I guess. Single or charge shot, just like the Mega Buster, and blaster barrel with LED. That's something that this one does differently, but that's because of the design, but we're going to get into all that later. Before I get to it, the sides and the bottom of the box don't have anything except for that Mega Man, Proto Man, Buster Replica, so I'm not going to show you the sides or the bottom. And my favorite side of the box is actually the top, which is really, really awesome. It has kind of a similar diagram to the one on the back, but this side actually has that, if you can see it, that really cool red outline of the Proto Buster, which is absolutely awesome. But yeah, there's really no sense in showing you guys a big cardboard box for much longer when we have an absolutely awesome item waiting. So let's get to it. Alright guys, and here we have Proto Man, but more importantly, his Proto Buster out of its box and looking absolutely gorgeous. The first thing that this thing does is just instantly capture my eye. It's absolutely beautiful. Now, Proto Man's Proto Buster does have a different shape than Mega Man's Mega Buster. Whereas Mega Man's Mega Buster, from the tip to the end of the barrel, is kind of just completely rounded like an egg. This one rounds up a little bit, but then it has this sharp edge and then points up to the barrel itself. And I think the design of the Proto Buster is just, in my opinion, way better than the Mega Buster. And in my personal opinion, I think this captures your eye in just such a better way than the Mega Buster really does it all. Now, I don't want this video to be just a comparison video because I am reviewing this item, but this item is just much more eye-catching than the Mega Buster. The Mega Buster was beautiful. It had a great sculpt, great paint, and it looked fantastic. But this one, I think the red and the yellow contrast and kind of catches your eye a little bit better. Not only that, it has a more dynamic shape, and the tip isn't just the same as the rest of the gun, but it has those little yellow rectangles in there. But yeah, so this thing it's absolutely beautiful. You have a really amazing paint job, but the awesome part is I don't think any of it is actually painted. And that's always good because you can't mess up paint applications if it's not painted. So it has 3 basic colors. You have the red, the yellow, and the silver, and that's it. But it looks great because it's such a nice color set, and it looks great in the way it's arranged. So the red is obviously very eye-catching. I prefer the blue of Mega Man because blue is my favorite color, but I do love the red of the Proto Buster. You have an extremely beautiful shiny paint on the red here. Now, I don't know if it's going to come across on the camera. I hope it will. If I move my phone light across it, you can kind of see it shimmering there if you can't just see it already. It has a glittery paint effect that goes through it, and I absolutely love it. Now, to the best of my naked eye, I don't think the Mega Buster has it. It has a slight sparklish tint to it, but this one is definitely much, much more pronounced, and I think it looks absolutely awesome. Now, just like Mega Man, you have the yellow power bar here, but unlike Mega Man's where there was lines, you can kind of see lines in here, but not really. You could see lines and there were ridges you could feel on this bar. This one is just flat. You can kind of see the lines right there and right there, but it's really just because of my light. If I block it, you can't see it. But this one is just flat, but it is basically the same exact thing as Mega Man. Like I said, I love the shape of this Buster, how it comes up and it kind of has a pointed, front there. It kind of adds some dynamic shape to the Buster. If I rotate it all the way around to the front, you can see you have this awesome barrel here. Now, I gotta say, I love this barrel way more than the Mega Man one. Now, Mega Man's is awesome because it's Mega Man's, but this one just looks so freaking cool. Not only is the tip a different color from the rest of the barrel itself, it has these ridges in here, or these yellow squares that go around the barrel and just make it look that much more cooler. And of course, on the front, you have the red tip of the Buster in there, just like Mega Man's, and the rest of this molding in here, I think, is the same. Now, everything on here is pretty much a different molded piece, like I said, because this has these ridges in here, this is a different shape than the other Buster, and this yellow bar doesn't have the line ridges in there, so everything is completely newly molded, which is awesome. Now, one thing that kind of bothers me is that on the box, and we see this all the time. If you're a toy collector, you are 100% extremely used to this. On the box, the Buster was advertised as having these ridges in here painted, these little squares in here that are separated by these lines. Those were advertised as being painted the same yellow as these squares here. Now, I'm not really sure if that bothers me or not. It bothers me because it was falsely advertised. I hate it when toy companies do that. They have to put the disclaimer on the back of the box that said, toy may vary from our final product. But if it's going to vary, just make it the real thing that's on the box. But yeah, I can't tell if I would have preferred to have those yellow lines in here or not. I think it looks great without it, and I think it would have been a little bit too much, and I like the look of the just silver in there, but it also depends on what picture of Proto Man you're looking at. I've looked up pictures, and I've seen some where inside it's gray, and inside it's also yellow, so I guess it's a matter of personal preference as to what you would have preferred, but it's what I was expecting because it's what was on the box. Now, this is obviously the best angle for the Buster with, the light bar on the side, but if I were to spin it around all the way, keep spinning it, you can see it's pretty much the same thing all the way around. Nothing interesting happens, except you have, I guess, lines where the two halves of the Buster are connected when it's assembled and then sealed together. And then on the bottom here, you have these really ugly peg red things. The Mega Buster had these too, and you couldn't see them as well, so they didn't bother me, but these ones are definitely painted. So like I said, I think everything is molded. Well, actually, I forgot to mention, everything on here, like I said, it's not painted, and so what that means is everything is molded in the color. So the red, the yellow, and the silver, those pieces of plastic were molded in that color, so they didn't actually have to be painted. But these bits here, I can tell, are painted because they're a much brighter red than the rest of the red that's on the rest of the Buster. And if I'm looking, yeah, okay, so they're actually, I think they're stickers. Those are the screw holes where I guess things were screwed into the Buster. Now, I want to say it's annoying that they just cheaply put stickers over it, but they could have just left them uncovered, so I guess that really doesn't bother me all that much, but it is a stark contrast from the sparkly red that we have in the rest of the Buster. So you spin it around, and there's more of those screw holes right there, and you just keep going until you eventually get back to the side that we were on. So aside from this right here, there's nothing really big going on with the Buster. So as you can see, the Buster is currently being held up by the display stand it comes with. Now, if you remember, the Mega Buster came with a display stand, so this one does too. And there is absolutely nothing about the two stands that come with this is the Proto Buster, this is the Mega Buster. There's absolutely nothing different. They both have the Mega Man logo engraved at the bottom, if you can see it right there, and they both have the Capcom logo on them, and they both have these nifty rubber things on the, I guess, the support pieces right here so that you don't scratch the Buster, which I love that. I would have a lot of anxiety about this scratching it, but it has these rubber pieces which can get streaks on it, but you can easily rub that off. So I do really like that it has that. It's nothing special. It's just a clear piece of plastic, so the stands are exactly the same. Now, obviously, it's no secret that this thing has lights and sounds, but before we get to that, I just want to talk about something. The thing about this one is it kind of feels cheap. I won't lie, this Buster has a bit of a cheap feeling to it compared to the Mega Buster. The Mega Buster felt solid, it felt well put together, but there's just certain things about this Buster that make me think it was rushed or something. This thing just kind of has a bit of a cheaper feeling to me. Now, the plastic, it all feels good. Everything feels nice and solid, and it has a good weight to it, but there's just certain things. So, for example, this little piece in here, I can kind of move it around, the red tip of the Buster. You definitely won't be able to see it, but if you listen really closely, it sounds loose. It kind of sounds like it's moving around. I don't really know what that means, but I don't really like it. It just kind of makes me feel like it has a cheaper quality to it. But yeah, that's really the only thing on the external of the Buster that makes me think that. But now, let's move on to the lights and sounds. If I rotate the Buster around and flip it, as you can see, there's a light switch, or just, I guess, a switch, right inside there. I do want to show you guys something. Now, if you guys remember on the Mega Buster, the way that the batteries were changed is that you unscrewed a screw from the front, on like the front of the barrel, the tip, and then you rotated it, and then you slid it off, and the batteries were in there. I thought it was a great way of doing the batteries. It was nice and concealed. You couldn't tell that they were there, and it was very, very easy to do. Now, I understand that with this one, they probably couldn't do that because it has the lights around the barrel in the front. So they had to find something else. And let me tell you something. One thing that I absolutely hate about this Buster is the way you get the batteries out. You have to take a screwdriver and you have to kind of get it down in that divot there and unscrew that screw in there. But it's a very awkward angle and very hard to get it out. And then once you do, you kind of have to finagle your hand around in that tight space to get the batteries in there. And putting it in was just a pain, and I really don't like it. I know they were limited, and I know it's probably the best that they could work with, but I'm just saying it's something that I didn't like. But you have a little on and off switch here, and my absolute favorite part about this Buster, out of everything it does, is the sound it makes when you power it on. So if I grab the on switch in here and flip it on, that sound is absolutely awesome. For those of you who may not know, that is Proto Man's iconic whistle. In Mega Man 3, when he was introduced, and basically in any Mega Man game, you know Proto Man is coming if you hear that whistle. It's his iconic whistle, and it's also his theme song. I love Proto Man's whistle. It's as iconic to him as his Buster or look or his cape or his shield or anything is, and I absolutely love it. Now, I'm actually going to turn off my lights so that you guys can see the Proto Buster's lights a little bit better. Now, all the lights are exactly the same as they were on the Mega Buster. You have the yellow light bar here, and you have the extra bonus of the yellow lights going around the Buster, and I think in the dark, that looks absolutely awesome. And you do have the red light right there on the front, just like the Mega Buster. Now, obviously, the Proto Buster has much more than just lights. It has sounds, too, so if I can reach my hand around inside the Buster here, which is going to be extremely annoying, but there we go, I got a grasp of it. If I pull the trigger once, you can see the lights flash, and the classic pea shooter sound plays. So when you do that, both the yellow lights dim, and the red light on the front brightens up a little bit. So to show you that from the front, I really hope you guys could see that, because that is one of the most awkward camera angles I've ever had to be at. But of course, you don't just get the pea shooter sound if I hold down the trigger. The yellow lights start to pulsate, and then when you release, the energy bar goes down as if the energy is being depleted, and the red tip lights up as if you're shooting the blast. Which is absolutely awesome, and to show you the red light, so yeah, there you go. There are the lights and the sounds that comes with the Proto Buster. I hope you guys were able to see the lights pretty well in the dark and at my awkward camera angles, because I know it didn't look that good. But we need to talk about the sounds for this Buster a little bit. Now, as much as I love the look of this Buster more, I prefer the sounds on the Mega Buster much, much more. Alright, so here we have the Mega Buster and the Proto Buster looking amazing, by the way, side by side. Now, the Proto Buster is already on, but I'm going to turn on the Mega Buster just to refresh you guys' memory as to what that power-up sounds like. It's just a, normal Mega Man sound effect. I think it's for picking a weapon or something. I really don't remember. See, now, both these weapons make the same sound when you power them off. And I didn't show you that for the Proto Buster, so I'll show you right now. They both make the classic Mega Man death sound effect, which I've said in the past I absolutely love, and I think that's incredibly awesome. So when either Proto Man or Mega Man, or really anyone in the Mega Man series dies, they make that classic death sound effect, which is really awesome. Now the reason I have these two side by side, of course, is because I wanted you to see them together and see how awesome they look, but really because I want to compare the sounds with you, and while I have them next to each other like this, you can see the ridges here and no ridges on that one. And this one is actually a little bit fatter, whereas this one is a little bit skinnier. But if I were to power them off at the same time, you can hear the difference. It's just, to me, this one sounds like it has a better speaker or sound quality to it. That just sounds crisp. That just sounds a little bit muffled to me. That one just sounds a little bit cleaner to me. Now, that doesn't really bother me. The main issue I actually have with this is the sounds that the Proto Buster makes when you pull its trigger. So, clearly with both busters, if you pull the trigger once, here we have the Mega Buster and the Proto Buster. When you pull the trigger once, it makes the firing sound. But the Mega Buster just sounds a little bit better than the Proto Buster. Now, I honestly don't know if there's any games where if you're playing as Proto Man, the Buster sounds a little bit higher pitch, but that's the case with these toys. And again, that doesn't really bother me, but the biggest issue I have is that the cool thing about the Mega Buster was if you rapid fire press that trigger, the sound doesn't cut off and restart. The light will keep flashing, as well as the sound will just overlap with one another as if you're firing multiple shots. But with the Proto Buster, the issue I have is when you try and do rapid fire, the sound just doesn't keep overlapping like the Mega Buster. It stops. It restarts the sound effect and turns off the lights and restarts the pattern all over again. So if you're trying to do rapid fire with the Proto Buster, it sounds pretty stupid. It sounds great on the Mega Buster, but if you were to do it on the Proto Buster, doing as fast as I can, you see it doesn't sound very good. So dimming my lights just so you can see the lights restarting. You can see the lights kind of look like they're glitching, whereas on the Mega Buster, they're not really restarting, just kind of, they stay dim until you stop doing it. The Proto Buster kind of just looks like it's glitching out. I don't really know what kind of a sound programming thing you have to do to change that, but I would have preferred if they did it the same way in the Proto Buster as they did on the Mega Buster. And the other thing I have a problem with is that, so for both of them, the Proto Buster and the Mega Buster, the charging sounds pretty much the same and sounds pretty good. But on the Proto Buster, when you release it, the sound just kind of doesn't sound as good. Now, I think that's a result of Proto Man having a different sound effect when he fires his charge shot, so I won't fault it too much, but it just, in general for the sounds, the Mega Buster sounds a lot louder and a lot cleaner than the Proto Buster. Now, the sound effects don't really bother me that much, mainly because of the fact that I'll be displaying this on the shelf, and for the few times that I pick it up just to have a little bit of fun, the sound effects really don't affect the product for me. Now, at such a high price range of about $78 to, with tax, $80, I really don't think that's an issue we should be having with something like this. The Mega Buster to me was almost worth its price point. It's a hunk of plastic for $80, but there was no problems that I had with this. It sounds great, it looks great, everything is just great on this product. And the Proto Buster is the same way. It feels good, it's not cheap, and it looks great. The only other problem that I have with the Proto Buster that comes to mind is something that I had with the Mega Buster too. The handle, the way you guys are looking at it right now, goes straight down through where that yellow bar is, so I would be holding it with my fist like this. The issue with that is the fact that Proto Man and Mega Man, and I explained this in the Mega Buster review. Here's my little Proto Man figure to show you. The light bar is on the side. It's not on the top of the Buster. So if you're holding this by the handle and it's on your arm, the line's going to be on the top of your arm. It should be on an angle or on the side like this. So if you want to do that, you can hold it with your pinky, but that's just uncomfortable. So that's not really a problem with the Proto Buster specifically. It's something that I had a problem with the Mega Buster too. Aside from the little sound gripe, I absolutely love the Proto Buster. These two look absolutely awesome sitting side by side. Now, I did say that I like the design of the Proto Buster a little bit more because it's a little bit more dynamic. It has more colors going on. You have the silver tip opposed to the Mega Buster where it's all blue, and instead of just kind of going up and then the point, it goes up, then there's the ridge, and then there's the point, and you have the extra yellow bits that go around the silver there, which looks absolutely awesome. In terms of the light, I don't think either one is more brighter than the other. When I pull the trigger, the red on the Mega Buster looks a little bit brighter, but it could just be because it has better batteries than the Proto Buster. So the lights look great. It's just the glitching, I guess you would call it, and the sound effects that bother me. I really can't definitively choose which one I like more, because as much as I love the design of this one more, I enjoy the sound effects on the Mega Buster more, but something that I definitely love about the Proto Buster is the Proto Man whistle when it turns on. That's just such a simple thing, but such an awesome thing that makes me extremely happy with this version. But yeah, if I had to recommend one for someone to get, I'd probably recommend the Mega Man Buster, because it's the more iconic one, and it's the more recognizable one between the two. Unless you're a huge Proto Man fan, then of course get the Proto Buster, or if you're a huge Mega Man fan in general like me, get both. And let me tell you something, these two things are going to look awesome sitting together side by side on my shelf. but I barely have room for the Mega Buster as it is, so I probably will have to display these standing up because on their sides with their stands is going to take up way too much room. But yeah, aside from a few minor nitpicky things that I have with this Switch, let's be honest, what thing doesn't someone review where they find a little bit of a problem with it? Aside from those few minor things, I absolutely love this product, and even though, yes, it is at a very expensive $80 price point, my friend said he got this on sale for about $50. I don't know how he did that, but he did. So for $50, you really cannot beat that. This thing is an awesome product. ThinkGeek never disappoints. I have never been disappointed with the quality of one of their products, so I am absolutely thrilled with this item. But alright guys, that is about going to wrap it up for the video review of the ThinkGeek Proto Buster Replica. I had an absolute blast reviewing this item, just like I did for the Mega Buster, because that was kind of, to me, one of the centerpieces of Mega Man 2, and this is kind of one of the centerpieces of Mega Man 3, because it's definitely one of the coolest items that I'm reviewing. But I want to thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next episode.